like psychoanalyst analysis session with Arthur Brooks, President Emeritus of American Enterprise Institute, a Harvard University professor and columnist for The Atlantic. I don't think we've spoken to you since the world changed on October 7th to a great extent. And then we saw, subsequent to that, things that I never thought I'd see in my lifetime, Arthur. And then you can combine with that the political backdrop we have here in a 2024 election that just seems to put people in a bad mood when you think about maybe the two candidates. But the good news is life goes on. I see people spending money and looking forward to summer vacations next year and taking time off. And I'm just wondering whether we say we're just in a sour, horrible environment and then just move on, or are we really affected by all? I think we really are in a bad way at this point.
Yeah, happiness in the United States has been in decline since, very gradual decline for a couple of decades. By the way, it's great to see you. It makes me happy to see the three of you. This is my favorite show. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, well, good to see you too.
It's a gradual decline in happiness, but it's really been punctuated by three pretty terrible storms that have been a downdraft in American happiness. The first was 2008, 2009, which actually really wasn't the financial crisis. It was the advent of the mass entrance into social media, where people started putting those apps on their phones, which is really hard for young adults, created a lot of loneliness. The second was the kind of the culture of contempt in American politics, where hatred was really being fomented by leaders who are dark triad personalities. And if you don't know what that is, in my business as a social scientist, these are leaders who exhibit narcissism, Machiavellianism, and traits of psychopathy, which became much, much more prevalent in American politics and to this day. And last but not least, of course, was the loneliness that came from the coronavirus lockdowns. And, on the tail of that, people just simply haven't come back in the same way. I'd be a lot happier if I were in the studio with you right now, for example, but that's just one example. So those are the three things that have really hurt us.
Yeah, I asked whether you were to make you really happy. I guess I was supposed to read this. Your latest book is Build the Life You Want, co-authored with Oprah Winfrey. I left that out. Anyway, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's not going. He's staying.
No, I know. Thanks for joining us now. Yeah. I didn't read that at the beginning.
No, I'm delighted. It's great. It's great. It's great to see all of you. It's funny because what we find is that so many Americans in this terrible political tumult that we have, you added to that the fact that people became very isolated during the coronavirus epidemic, and work has changed permanently. So people aren't coming back. They're kind of stewing in their juices. And when you actually see, you can look neurochemically at actually what's happened to people. It's actually lowered their ability to have communion with other people. So they spend more time in highly polarizing contexts, watching, social media or cable news programs in the evening that are very, very politically a lot of anger, a lot of contempt that people are getting. And people are substituting their citizenship in their communities for, watching political news shows as a result of that. And that's really lowered our happiness a lot. And we're being manipulated by leaders that have these dark triad personality characteristics.
Yeah, that was pretty funny when you described that personality. And I can't just say there's only one, but it did describe one fairly accurately, but maybe his opponent too. I don't think it's a whole lot different in terms of the narcissism and it's just sort of just a different brand. But
oh yeah,
Arthur, did you studying all this, you still weren't a little bit shocked with the reaction to October 7th that we're seeing on our college campuses and probably something going on right now somewhere?
It was shocking. It was shocking, Joe.
But
Absolutely.
the overt anti-Semitism, really, I never thought I'd hear any of those terms again in my life.
Yeah. But the thing, what really shocks me is that I'm not shocked anymore. The truth is, in our current environment of activism, we're being, all of this stuff is being fomented by people that are basically trying to conscript young people into a culture war. And that's what manipulative leaders really do. And most activism tends to be highly manipulative, and it's just another symptom of the things that we're talking about
Yeah,
here.
they're almost professional. Some of them are professional protesters. That some of the ones that are mixed in with the other. That's all they want to do with their life is protest.
Yeah, and you have to understand that activism has only one goal, which is more. Whatever it happens to be, more of it. And universities are really supposed to be centered on inquiry, not on advocacy. I understand that there's some advocacy involved, but inquiry is really the goal. And this is the big opportunity right now for university leaders, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not a university president, thank God. But, I have to say that it's pretty, I've led a big institution in the past. And when something bad like this happens, this is a huge opportunity to restate your goals, to double down on what the purpose of the organization is. You don't look at this as a threat and try to just make it go away. On the contrary, state your principles, state your policies, talk about the penalties and sanctions that come from violating those policies. Don't be defensive at all. And then talk about the fact that universities and other like institutions, they shouldn't be actually getting into political position making anyway. They should be inquiry types of institutions.
I don't know if I'm going to put you in a complicated place, but, I've seen Bill Ackman has been out on X or Twitter being quite critical of Harvard, where you work, and the approach that the president of the university has taken, some of the things that he's seen on the campus, videos that he's now distributing of protests and the like that are happening almost in the classrooms themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious on a very personal basis what you think of all of that.
Yeah, I think we have a brand new president, and she's dedicated to actually solving this problem. And I think solving this problem requires that we have very non-defensive, very straight up positioning about the fact that you can't disrupt the learning environment. That's just not okay under any circumstances for any reason. Political activism you don't get some special deal where political activism can trump the ability to actually teach a class. So we need sanctions, we need penalties, we need to state them, we need to enforce them.
Go. Yeah, they say we got to go. I was going to say I wish someone could ride in on a horse, a historical figure, but there's so much tribalism that I don't have a historical figure that hasn't been canceled by either one side or the other, because I can't say JFK because one side hates him. I can't say Reagan because the other side hates him. I can't even say Abe Lincoln. But I don't know how we get saved from this social media morass that we're in right now. But then I think life goes on, and I think everybody's, I'm wondering whether we're just stewing in our own juices, as you say. But they say we got to go, Arthur. I wish we had more time.
I'm grateful to be with all of you, and that's the key thing. Let's everybody stay grateful that we live in the greatest country in the history of the world.
Right.
And it's going to be okay.
Right. And you look at what's happening in the rest of the world. We are so lucky, and I feel so bad for you read every day things that, it makes me want to cry. Anyway, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Arthur.